Well, you can talk about the issue of handguns or guns or rifles or the Second Amendment rights. I'm a strong supporter of Second Amendment rights, and I've worked hard in Washington to preserve those. I've also worked hard in Washington to preserve personal property rights. And I think people of northeast Minnesota know how the government is trying to take away a lot of those rights.
Halloween is over, Mr. President. Halloween is over, and now don't go out and try to scare farmers. So we're prepared. This is a very important seat, I might say, to those here this morning. And it's one that we're going to win. And it's going to make a big, big difference in what happens the next 2 years, 4 years, and 6 years. Pardon? The President? With him? We'll go family plan. Yeah. I like to ride in that machine. They made it in Kansas. But in any event, I don't know if we talked about that, if I can work it out. Political.
We respond as we normally would. We don't always know it's a vacant house fire until we get there. And so what we're doing is we're putting our firefighters in a position that can compromise their safety.
At one time, if you drove along Highway 210 here, you'd see a sign that read "Puppies for Sale." Now there's just an empty rabbit cage. Earlier this month, the Animal Humane Society made a gruesome discovery. Terry and Charlene Liebig had more than puppies. The Humane Society says they had over 100 animals that were left outside to die without food or water.
Most of the animals were suffering from malnutrition, the poor sanitary living environment.
Authorities witnessed what they say is the most inhumane case of animal abuse they've encountered in the county. This small wiener dog was confined to a chicken cage that was so full of animal feces there was barely enough room for it to move. There was only a rusted-out bucket for water and 2 sickly horses that were so thin their bones protruded through their skin.
I don't think this meant to be intended on getting to be this big. They were just starting off, and they just got too many animals to take care of.
According to the complaint, through their investigation, 2 state officers with animal control and the Friends of Animals Humane Society in Carlton brought a veterinarian to the property. After looking at the conditions, he stated the animals must be confiscated and suspected some wouldn't survive. Terry and Charlene Liebig told authorities every one of the animals were their pets, but they are still being charged with 10 counts of cruelty to animals, totaling over $7,000 in fines.
Friends of Animals Humane Society of Carlton County, this is Danny.
Today, the Humane Society was flooded with phone calls from people who want to adopt the animals or just express their concern.
We've had over 36 phone calls by 9 o'clock this morning, and that's the phone's ringing in the background right now. We've had, I'd say, over 200 phone calls on this situation.
Right now, the animals are staying with foster families until they find a new home. In Cloquet, Molly McMillan, News 6.
And it was recognized that there was a need to separate residential from industrial. And certainly we need industrial space within our community, and it wasn't a safe situation to have traffic running, the heavy truck traffic running right through residential areas, so it was felt that a change was needed.
Did an excellent job, came in with some pretty massive, really the guys in our office that led this project were Jay Bergman, who actually designed the roadway, was responsible for the roadway elements, and Joe Littman was responsible for the bridge elements.
After spending 2 days at Duluth's Lighthouse for the Blind, federal investigators from the National Industries for the Blind say they found no documented evidence of unfair treatment, but they did make some sweeping recommendations for change, including increased communications with blind employees, better training for staff and supervisors about the capabilities of blind people, improved cross-training of blind employees, and better outreach among Duluth's blind community when any position opens up. One of the ways the new management team says it hopes to improve the lighthouse is by hiring more blind people.
The mission of the lighthouse is to provide employment for the blind. So if there are qualified people, and that's what we're searching for.
But that mission is sharply brought into question by something the lighthouse just did. Within the last month, the facility doubled its shifts, going to round-the-clock production. But not one of the new people hired was blind.
When we went on a 24-hour shift, 7 days a week, that we did have to hire sighted people because there were no blind people available for the work.
But the blind people we talked with said they couldn't have looked very hard.
It's 70% or greater of the people with disabilities in Duluth who want to work, who are willing to work, who are capable of working are unemployed.
Sandy Wilmot says she'd go back to work at the lighthouse if offered a job. So would Nancy Nelson, and Fred Schiffelbein, and Dan Nelson, and several other blind people living in Duluth. But they didn't get the chance. They didn't hear about the new positions until after all the sighted people were hired. The federal government requires a 75% blind workforce for government contracts. But the lighthouse got around that quota by creating a separate for-profit subsidiary. It will use lighthouse equipment and space, but will not work on government contracts. Lighthouse spokespeople say they are doing this to help the blind people.
The lighthouse can charge rent and for utilities that are used.
The management team says in order to make it in today's business world, they have to be competitive, even if that includes money-making ventures outside the traditional blind operation.
For a workshop such as the Lighthouse for the Blind to survive, they were going to have to get involved with business from the private sector.
Despite the fact that the subsidiary employs no new blind people, the lighthouse management is very proud of its new arrangement, saying they think it will be a model for other agencies serving the blind nationwide. The new management team says it's committed to making the lighthouse a better place. Those in the blind community say they certainly hope so. At the Duluth Lighthouse for the Blind, Barbara Rialts, News 6.
Okay? Would you like a little more? Sure. Oh, looks really nice, doesn't it?
This year, shoppers are swarming stores with entertainment on their minds. They're not looking for what's warm, they're looking for what's hot. Well, we did a little shopping of our own. House with. One where if you're a sports nut, you could watch football all day. The hottest item this Christmas is the digital satellite system.
The basic package runs like $29 a month, and that gives you pretty much everything that cable has to offer, plus 7 encores, a lot of other options on there for the consumer.
For some people, that's just a little too spendy. Try $999 just to get started. And there are always those shoppers that simply can't make up their minds.
No, we're still in the process of looking.
Do you think you'll find one that's a good price? Or?
I hope so.
But if you comb the aisles for a few hours, you just may find the perfect gift and decide to take it home. But only if the price is right. If you're thinking about making a big purchase this Christmas, such as a camcorder or a big screen TV, credit counselors warn, think twice before you get out the plastic. When it comes to electronics, most people don't have the cash up front to pay for an item. So if you're going to buy big on credit, banking experts say, consolidate all credit cards into one balance on the card with the lowest interest. Watch out for pre-approved applications that say they have low interest. The interest will probably go up in 6 months. Keep a modest balance and try to pay in full every month so you don't get in over your head. Now, with all of that in mind, here's another tip. Go early. There are only 28 days to finish shopping. In Duluth, Molly McMillan, News 6.
Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. Well, let's begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
I guess anybody around here would do that, you know. That's the way the community works. You know, something happens, everybody just pitches in and helps.
Bouncing along an unplowed township road, trapper Bill Paul watches for sign wolves have returned to this cattle farm northeast of Grand Rapids.
Some farmers have no use for a wolf, while other farmers can tolerate wolves as long as, you know, they don't have problems with losing their livestock and that.
When Paul confirms a wolf kill, he responds quickly with leg-hold traps, a fatal answer to a wolf gone bad. The wolf's range in Minnesota has spread steadily southward. There are now active packs near Hinckley and Lake Mille Lacs, almost to the Twin Cities. This is outside the forest. It's farm country, and it means a full-time job for Bill Paul and his animal damage control team. Government trappers took just 6 wolves when the program began in 1977. Last year, they trapped and killed 172. For farmers like David Radayich, killing wolves is a matter of economic survival.
Every year we lose some calves and once in a while a cow to the wolves.
Radayich is a careful farmer, but surrounded by vast forest land, his herd is easy prey. He's paid $400 for each lost animal. That's break even for a calf, but half price for a cow.
If Bill wasn't here, we'd obviously be taking matters into our own hands, which would be trapping and shooting.
Shooting a threatened species like a wolf can land a person in prison. Even for Bill Paul, the rules are strict. He must trap within a half mile of a farm where an actual kill has happened.
3 or 4 wolves in one night, they could eat up most of a calf, you know. They would probably come back and feed on it 2 or 3 times and tear it apart.
So the bones are actually broken off here.
Right.
Environmentalists are remarkably supportive of the animal damage control program. Wolf educator Carlin Berg says it's necessary.
Us who care for him. I pledge to offer every possible assistance to the victim of this misconduct, to the victim's family, and to Father Mark so that everyone can begin the path of healing.
In the first real test of the 2-year-old diocesan sexual misconduct policy, Bishop Schweitz and church officials talked with reporters this morning about the allegations against Father Mark Mikowski, who was indicted Friday. The complaint alleges criminal sexual contact between Mikowski and a 16-year-old boy in the church youth group. The incident happened several months ago and was reported to church officials by Mikowski himself just 2 weeks ago. The church then reported the allegations to the Cook County Sheriff's Department. Mikowski was removed from Grand Marais, and he resigned 1 day before his indictment. Parishioners we talked to on Sunday were still in shock.
Everybody's praying for him and very, shall I say, touched by what had happened. But he was a great fellow, great priest, spiritually, in every way.
Before working in Grand Marais, Mikowski was the pastor at St. Benedict's Church in Duluth and had been an assistant pastor in Brainerd. There are no allegations of sexual misconduct in his past. The church has offered counseling to help anyone who's been affected by the case, including the alleged victim, his family, and other members of the congregation.
In spite of their love for Father Mikowski, they did not turn on the victim, which I was impressed by, because that's the tendency. When the alleged perpetrator is loved, to say, oh, well, that victim's got to be crazy or they're lying or whatever else. And these people were very gentle.
Church officials say the chain of events shows the sexual misconduct policy used by the diocese works. They say all the tests in the world can't screen out potential offenders and hope that nothing like this will ever happen again.
Because a lot of people would like to say, well, I'm sure this will just all go away. That's the disbelief. But then clearly when charges were brought, well, things are not going to go away, and we need to rely on the state to continue their investigation to see where that all goes.
In Duluth, Derek Hines, News 6.
Anyone on the investigating committee learn anything particularly new from this experience that you might apply toward the sexual assault?
Whether or not city and county employees are being paid too much will be addressed by the Minnesota legislature. State Senator Stephen Wenzel of Little Falls says he'll introduce a bill that'll limit what local governments can pay its employees. The bill is designed to curb what Wenzel calls outrageous salaries. But not everyone sees the proposed legislation as a cost saver.
I guess I can understand perhaps the reasoning behind someone authoring a bill such as this, maybe to take care of that quote-unquote anger out there in the general population. but I'm not sure they've really thought of the consequences.
The main consequence, according to opponents, would be the inability to hire qualified professionals to serve local governments. In many cases, if the money isn't competitive, candidates will go elsewhere. The proposed legislation would limit the salary of a city or county attorney to just under $85,000. Sheriffs and all other employees would be paid as high as $78,500. In St. Louis County, 3 people would see a drop in their paychecks if the plan goes through. They include St. Louis County Attorney Alan Mitchell. He currently makes over $93,000. John Keckmeyer is just under $83,000. And City of Duluth Administrator Carl Nolenberger. He makes about $82,000.
A lot of those salaries are driven by the market, particularly in the private sector, and so if they're unable to recruit qualified individuals, that will certainly have a negative impact on not only the local government, but I think also on the community in general.
The bill is being co-sponsored by House Speaker Irv Anderson of International Falls and Representative Dee Long of Minneapolis. In Duluth, Ted Rowlands, News 6.
Where are you going? A wonderful way to get the word out about the importance of fitness and a regular fitness program. And heart disease touches basically everybody. It's our nation's #1 killer. So anything we can do is a big help.
We believe a climate of misunderstanding and fear surrounded.
Add another line to that.
Finished by this ongoing injustice, especially those who by their...
Because if you mention youth, somebody says, oh, you can't talk about youth, or there will be, we will be accused of recruiting them into a gay lifestyle, the homosexual lifestyle. And I think one of the things we all want to say, oh, that is sheer nonsense.
And you can imagine not only what that's going to do for the city of Duluth, but what that is going to do particularly for this part of town, Spirit Valley, West Duluth area. So I said to somebody when I came in, I'd love to own the Subway shop in the corner down here.
because that's what they're paid to do. But we have excellent staff in the city of Duluth and with Dita and Tim Chalstrom. I don't know where Tim is. Tim and the
I like it better.
Better? Okay, we'll do that.
Wishbone Ash, Blue Oyster Cult, Uriah Heep, and Nazareth racked up millions of record sales in their heyday. They were called the supergroups of the 70s. During the techno-crazed 80s, however, super was replaced with dinosaur in the labeling of these bands. But now the music scene has come full circle.
It's gone way back to guitar music, and of course, being a guitar band, that suits us just fine, you know, because, you know, that's what Wishbone Ash is all about.
The scene backstage has changed for these bands as well. The cigarettes and alcohol have been replaced by gum and mineral water.
Shoot that thing, shoot that thing.
But the energy and excitement are still there.
When you step on that stage, you know, and the lights are on and the kids are going, yeah! You know, it's like Friday night, let's go.
We get a twofold audience. We get an audience that have grown up with us, like you say, a young audience that are just finding out about us. You know, and I think that's part of our longevity, you know, that's kept us going for 23 years. You know.
I run into people in their mid-30s who say, yeah, I was into you guys when I was in high school, but am I glad you guys are still playing.
Tomorrow night, we'll explore the 25-year history of these bands and why they chose rock and roll as a career.
We were just we were kids, you know, and I was dreadful at playing football, so it was like, you know, and if you joined a band, chicks dug it, you know.
Not even ready then, they're near ready.
We should come down here then.
You.
We've said it.
Fools.
You see, what's happened here is we've come to the stage too early, yeah? So like 5 prunes will stand here until the lights go out. A lot of good fun.
This song was the very first song that Mick Boxer on the lead guitar ever wrote. Let's have the room, band!
We're in an enviable position, really, because, I mean, most people do a job, you know. They don't necessarily do that job because they love it, you know. They do it to pay the bills, you know. Whereas where we got into music and stuff like that, it starts as a hobby, and a hobby is something you love, and then to become your career is fantastic.
Here we are in the evening news. We just conquered Minnesota. Hey, where's your hockey team? What happened? Rangers are going to win it all this year. They're in Dallas, aren't they? I don't know what happened.
Then at 76, Don't Fear the Reaper was a top 10 single, so it was our first real exposure to real airplay. We really like doing it, and it's been terrific. I wouldn't change a thing.
Hello guys, how you doing?
You know, younger bands coming up are saying, you know, that Nazareth and bands like that, you know, Aerosmith, that influenced them. So that's kind of nice, you know. It means that there was more to it than just, well, 3 minutes of something, you know.
It's funny, I mean, sometimes you find yourself slightly out of fashions, the other time, you know, you find it's a good time, and right now it's a good time. Although we love our history and we're very proud of it, we're also very proud of what we're doing now, so we can combine everything, and it works very well. It tends to be a musical journey as opposed to just a bunch of songs, you know, right. which is really cool.
It's been a homegrown, community-wide effort, and that's what we're going to ask for support to. 1,150 kids a year, and a prevention message. I mean, we are spending millions and millions of dollars in treatment.
For the past 16, 17 years, and part of that adult society. So, copies of our print ad are in your kit, and again, we're just very, very excited about them. We can't wait for it to get out there.
for a little bit over a year. This is all dispersed, funded through the HRA. When I asked them what their
There's concerns of racism and disparate treatment of people of color by the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. We submitted a list of requests that we would like to see happen, plan happen for those requests by the time they hold their March meeting.
To judge by the hype, you'd think that the internet was a nest of perverts. With the arrest of that University of Michigan student who was posting violent rape and sexual torture stories, naming a classmate, it seems that all we've heard about lately is how kinky the internet is. The record really does need to be set straight. Right now, there are over 8,000 internet news groups, and they cover everything from adoption or agricultural discussion groups to groups devoted to yoga and Zen, with everything in between. And yes, there are some pretty perverted places. Triple X-rated stories about things that, well, we can't even begin to try and tell you about here on TV. More typical of the internet is email. About 50 million messages are exchanged every day on the internet, most of them about business or professions. There are thousands of worldwide websites that tell you about different cities, let you look at art exhibits, tap into government data banks, and if you want to, you can even OD on news of the OJ case, if that's what you want. I've gotten a ton of email this week from worried parents who want to know, should I let my kids on the internet? I tell them, yes, it's just a tiny fraction of the stuff on the internet that's questionable. Oh, but is there a potential that they can be exposed to this sexually explicit stuff, they ask. Again, I say, there's a potential, but it's so small that even a minimal amount of parental supervision can easily deal with it. If you got a question about computers or life on the information superhighway, contact me anytime online. Till next time, I'm Mike Wendland for NBC News.
Well, it's been snowing like this since early this morning, and it's just getting worse and worse, and there's rollovers, cars in ditches, no major accidents yet, but the traffic is still pretty steady.
What was that?
Johnson wasn't such a bad guy. This is a real vote of confidence in your...
Carly, do you remember your body?
Only thing that ever happens to me is that I miss you too much.
Not sure if there will
Authorities armed with rifles and search dogs were making a sweep through the forest near Pine Lake when all of a sudden, Michael Church opened fire with a semi-automatic .22 rifle.
He surprised them by opening up, and shooting at them. So basically, when he opened fires, that drew attention to him. We have nobody injured, no police officers were injured, and we feel pretty fortunate.
I think they're 1062.
Church was not so fortunate, struck down by at least 2 bullets, but still conscious. He was immediately transported to a nearby hospital. It was at a nearby cabin on Pine Lake yesterday where Church held 2 men at gunpoint for 3 hours. By around 6 o'clock, they made their way to a store miles away.
2 men came in and said that the man who killed the people in Minnesota was in their cabin, that they had just arrived in the afternoon and he was in their cabin and he had held them at gunpoint, they said. And they wanted me to call 911.
Store owners said they appeared to be in shock.
Scared, really scared. They were shaking so badly, well, they thought they were going to get killed.
What they got was 3 hours worth of small talk, cigarette smoking, and beer drinking in the company of Church, who finally agreed to leave.
The guy that owns the cabin asked him if he would leave now. He said, I just said, would you leave now? And he said, in a minute, I have to think and I have to get my sleeping bag. And he said a few minutes later, he did leave.
Armed with their story, police began scouring the area around the cabin, pounding on doors, waking up neighbors.
The police told us to keep our doors locked and call if they seen anything or heard anything.
There was rapidly firing, and it was scary. Scary thoughts.
Your mother for 40 years. And he said, you know, son, I'm putting you all over. And he said, I want to tell you something. He said, your mother.
The focus of it is education and also to learn from each other in the different cultures. We also have visitors from Australia, New Zealand, America Samoa, and Mexico.
He's talking back. And by the hand, took me out on the porch, and she hollered at my father. She called my father. She said, "Yeah, now he out the keys." And my father said, "Die." She said, "Peter."
There's also some peripheral areas where we think we're going to receive some cuts. I know it's coming from. It's the LIDR. Formula without change, that's the way I should put it, of dollars in a variety of different categories.
We're looking at cuts in major areas to help the low income and elderly, basically in different areas of human services. This is where the big cuts are being made or being proposed at this time because there's been a national outcry that we have to cut welfare.
Providers. And the agencies, there's not possibility the social service could tighten their budget?
With the legislature and of course with Congress, and getting new ideas.
Overlapping fiscal years. So when the state starts talking about reductions in 1995 funding, what they're really talking is state budget. And they're talking about in St. Louis County, they're talking about a $1 million.
Will be permitted to cross-examine the witnesses very much like a trial. Testimony developed by experts in their fields. The particular concerns that we have are with fossil fuel burning power plants, primarily coal plants, which emit a range of pollutants.
$13 for him. Hey, what do you think? $13 here, 12 and now 13. Sold it here, $12 number.
On a typical Saturday night, a bartender in Wisconsin pours hundreds of frothy, tall taps. That number will go even higher if 19-year-olds living in Wisconsin are allowed to drink. And Superior Police Chief Doyle Barker says that's a bad idea.
I think the problems for the police are going to increase dramatically, and I think it's going to be a serious mistake. I'm just totally opposed to it.
Barker says Superior Police spend lots of time watching cars cruise up and down Tower Avenue, Superior's hotspot for drinking. A lot of the people come out of Kerrigan's, a popular hangout for students. Earl Kerrigan's in favor of bringing down the age because it will bring him a lot of money.
You'd bring an additional $100,000 at least into my bar.
Students under the legal drinking age say that bars provide entertainment that parties can't.
There's not much to do as it is around here in this area. Besides, you know, most of my friends, like, say if they're older, all they do is go to the bars on the weekends and nights. So it would mean more to do, that's for sure, and to go and be able to socialize with my friends a little more.
Even students we talk to that are of legal drinking age say if you're old enough to serve, you're old enough to be served.
I think if someone is at the age where they can go fight for their country and be responsible as an adult, they should be able to have a drink or so after.
There are definitely pros and cons, but before anyone goes up to the bar asking for a drink, the bill was endorsed and still needs final approval before it becomes law. In Superior, Molly McMillan, Channel 6 News.
Publication over there, big magazine.
Okay, I'll try the tunnel once, but I'm a ship.
My guess is that there will be the initial shock. People have expected that America was somehow exempt from these actions. The real surprise is probably that it has taken so long for this sort of thing to happen in the United States.
We're at the federal building in Duluth, the U.S. Library.
Just lettuce, mayonnaise, and pickles.
Well, if you're hungry, you don't study. You're more worried about what are you going to eat. And if your life revolves around being hungry, that's tragic. That's tragic, especially in a country like ours.
Oh, did you put that in there then too? Yeah, what's that zesty one?
Just lettuce, mayonnaise, and
Environmentalists are suggesting Honeywell, the original owner of
Superior Memorial's Hospitals Birth to 3 program is hosting a conference for parents and for health professionals. Session topics range from new technology for hearing and vision to medical and developmental exams. These workshops give parents the opportunity to learn more about their children and the physicians who treat them.
Really what we're doing is sharing information about what we do and what we think are the best ways to evaluate children with developmental problems.
There are many ways to detect early childhood development problems. Pediatricians follow motor development guidelines to indicate whether a child is developing normally for their age. Parents can monitor their child's progress by asking simple questions like,
Can my 1-month-old baby hold a rattle? Or can my 2-year-old pedal a tricycle? Several parents were surprised at some of the interesting tips the workshops had to offer.
I always thought he was developmentally a little questionable, so when they tried to guess his age, I thought that was interesting. Found out that he's doing real well mentally, and it's just he needs a little bit more work on his muscle tone. So that was interesting to find out.
In the near future, workshops like this may prove to be even more beneficial to Superior residents. Superior Memorial Hospital is losing the only pediatrician serving the Douglas County area. Dr. Ralph Locker, the hospital's current pediatrician, plans to leave Superior to continue his practice out of state. I talked to Dr. Judy Walker, coordinator of the Birth to 3 program, to understand why pediatricians are a rare commodity in Superior.
The problem, from what I understand, is that since we have no obstetrics department, children, for the most part, are not being born in Douglas County. They're being born in St. Louis County over the bridge, and so to keep a pediatrician busy full-time is a problem for the pediatrician.
Currently, there are no plans to fill Dr. Locker's vacancy, but with the success of the Neurodevelopmental Conference, similar workshops may become more frequent at Superior Memorial Hospital. In Superior, Quinn Mosby, Channel 6 News.
Yeah, it's a really nice review. Start over there on action. Slowly move this way. Okay? So let's just rehearse this once. I'm gonna step everybody through it, kind of a slow motion thing. Always be in there kind of like, yeah, I want mine too. Yeah, I want mine too. Morning, Greg. Morning, dude. Okay? Good morning. Hey, you guys smile a little bit. Smile a little bit. And you smile too. Good morning. Let's tighten it up. Tighten it up. You guys are in a hurry, you know? You want to get it done? Oh, yeah. And action. Morning, Greg. Do it. No more than 2 feet away from it.
I can't remember. I think people are pretty disappointed in all the hoopla over this, and there's never really been a financial backer nailed down. It's apparent that Brown is basically a real estate developer who is scurrying around trying to find the financial backing, and the good thing is, I guess, the city's in the real estate business now.
think I would not. I think 2002 is a value because I've learned a lot about. I think it's unacceptable to not ask large corporations to make some sacrifice, especially when we're talking about some of the corporations that have the most clout in this country, like oil companies, like pharmaceutical companies, and instead to target Medicare, to target education, to target veterans programs. I mean, to me, this is slash and burn. So you find the same thing. 75% of their payment mix comes. Neither resolution calls on the Pentagon to reduce expenditures by 1 penny, nor does it call for any very, very difficult those. And third of all, what is going to happen is you're going to have
people have a thought. The day that thought is I didn't realize how much I was going to miss the work. I miss the challenges. I miss the day-to-day dealing with people, exchanging ideas and thoughts, and working on big projects for the community.
I just purchased a used piece of dynamite printer.
Remember when you guys went swimming that night? I don't remember. I was so sick when I was in there. I don't remember. We were
I went out there for a while. Private cruiser for a while. Got a few things done. Helped her clean up her cabin. I got to get out there the next couple days.
How many prop tabs have you collected?
180,133.
Very excited about it and the potential for more jobs. And
had a meeting with their president, Bob Bear, and hot air updrafts caused some crashes as well. So for safety purposes now there are limitations on flights to a certain level above sea level, and I think with continued regulation we can assure safety in those overflights.
Hundreds of evacuees streamed across the St. George Island Bridge after it opened. They had been refused access to their homes all morning long. But here's what they missed as the storm passed. High winds, strong surf, flooded streets. Vic and Alice Whitney stayed on the island and rode the storm out. We asked them if they thought Allison was a wimp.
If you want to call any storm wimpy, we're glad we weren't flooded. We didn't know what to expect.
Yes, we were expecting more, but we were ready.
When we caught up with Frank Williams, he was having a tougher time getting the boards off his windows than he did when he was putting them up. His estimate, 0 damage.
Very pleased.
And it could have expected the worst, I presume?
Yeah, we expected to come back and have some severe damage based on the National Weather Service reports of what the storm was going to be like.
More than 500 people evacuated St. George, many of them vacationing tourists. The volunteer fire chief says that he's pleased with how it all went.
We didn't expect it. We woke up yesterday and said, whoa. And next thing you know, we put everything into action.
It's unfortunate, but that's just what has happened. And I think, I know last year we didn't.
Cabaret, you can't.
I don't believe he has applied, when he applied
Bill Fichtner emigrated to the United States from Germany in 1947. As a 17-year-old, he paid a visit to the Twin Ports. He liked what he saw, and eventually, a Duluth institution was born.
And when he first came, he came to Chicago, where he worked in a sausage plant. And he came up to Duluth on a fishing trip, and he really enjoyed the area. And he just moved to Duluth.
With a partner, Bill Fichtner started B&B Meats in 1962. The store moved to its present First Street location 10 years later and became Fichtner's Meats. The customers moved right along with it, though they aren't all Duluthians.
We get some people that travel in from Wisconsin, Two Harbors, the Iron Range. We've got people from the Iron Range that have been coming down for years and years. We know them very well. People from the Moose Lake area.
It's a comfortable fit. The store's 8 employees produce over 60 different types of products right in the store, from bratwurst to jerky to sausage. Some of those products have won awards. Dick Fichtner knows his father's old business has carved its niche.
Like I say, a lot of downtown workers, they'll take a break at lunch or something, come over, get a few things, maybe go to the Y, then stop over. Get a lot of people coming over from the Y.
Regular customers and family tradition. That makes Fichtner's Meats a profile of success. In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
So are you from TV? And the telephone number.
Are you from TV?
Oh, how thoughtful. Okay. Thank you very much. You'll get the message.
They are loyal, they're dependable. I think that our older workers are more likely to make it in if there's a snowstorm, and they use fewer sick days, and they bring a depth of experience, of life experience, that we really appreciate very much and that we value. The older workers we're just chatting about.
I have had many little children call me grandma, and they want me to be their grandma. And it's very good for me too. My children live in Minnesota, but I do not see them that often, and they're getting older, where often these are littler kids. And it's nice. I
belongs to us, or that brings us information about what's happening in our own backyard. And I think
nobody will know the difference. No, we've got 2 cut shots behind.
People probably have noticed that there are a lot of things happening with media, with the electronic superhighway, with computers. That's going to become more and more an important part of our lives. But it's also going to be important for us to have a local connection, something that we know belongs to us, or that brings us information about what's happening in our own backyard. And I think that a television station in a local community like ours is in a unique position to do that.
There's some pictures of it. I have a little farm.
A little farm? Good Lord.
40 acres.
Where's that?
I don't think that the lawyers, or the court, or the media has really done justice to this whole thing. And like most of your viewers, I'm getting kind of tired of the whole thing, except I can't get away from it. It's on the news every night when I go home. It's in the newspaper every morning, and I just can't get away from it.
We have a responsibility that we have to face with respect to children, whatever they do. It doesn't mean we excuse it, and it doesn't mean they shouldn't be punished. But it also doesn't mean we can excommunicate them. We can't do that.
I guess
up to speed,
Oh, yeah.
because I know there's a lot of administrative stuff over the summer too.
Oh, yeah.
Moving everything. Power plant's going with the Great Lakes.
Oh,
School
good,
is
except
there
that's
for
what
the
we're so
big
busy
change.
about.
Yeah.
You know, we're moving.
As Dr. Harold Erickson has mentioned, Phase 1 is going to be completed. The community college, the tech college, the dental hygiene school will all be on this campus in September of 1996. We are going to work very hard next year to try to get another $10 to $12 million for Phase 2, which is going to be needed as these schools merge. So we're going to be. That's the job of these gentlemen here and others to us to convince them that it should be going high.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy, so I couldn't do that.
We found out that we had this mold and mildew problem all over the first floor of that building. And that was when the decision was made yesterday to close the building today and tomorrow and to remove all the carpeting and disinfect the floor and then decide where we're going to go from there, whether we're going to...
Thank you. Cool Lee. Representative July 18, 1995.
There may be evidence that there was an intent to shoot at the victim as opposed to kind of an accidental or a misdirected shot at a house. So I'm expecting law enforcement reports on the accuracy of the weapon and the angle from where we believe the car was with the gun to where...
Brandon would be present in the building to exceed 5 years of old. Second count also.
They can charge a felony now, and they can go through the preliminary hearing, and then they can decide what to charge after that, even when they file the information.
I mean, client, obviously. I mean, was there an intent to shoot this guy, or was this just a random? Okay, I understand.
is a great little treasure. Here we are at the Antique Center in Duluth, downtown on Canal Park, and it's just an amazing collection of toys, glassware, figurines, furniture. And this is not the only place in Duluth. There's many of them just like it. But what we've got here is, this is more or less a stepping stone to the ultimate consumer. And the prices that you pay here are the prices that usually are the final price. But there are many good deals in here. When you're looking for your childhood, this is the place to go. And you can look, oh, now who's to say, who would have ever known that a Pez dispenser is worth $12? This is a great place to come. It's a great resource, and it's a great place to just come down and spend a half hour or an hour and just look around and get some indication as to what you may have yourself. Get a feel for what's out there as far as value is concerned. Today it's a busy day. There's many people in here. That's evidence of what they have here. Quality, pricing, and the condition of everything that I see here. Some of these things are just amazing as far as collectability is concerned. Some things you never see again in your life. But coming here, sometimes this is even better than the museum because you get a chance to touch the items here. Even old grandma's collectibles here. There's a collector for everybody. The old tools on the floor, everything. Railroad lanterns. Boy, I'll tell you, if you're selling it, and there's probably a collector for it somewhere. So, and even books. Look at the old children's books have good value today. Even the nice pen, it's amazing. Then look down here, the crockwares. So, everything has value. Who's to say what the value is? These are books that are actually for sale. And some of the better ones, of course, are going to be your old ones. Here's one, East of the Sun and West of the Moon. Someone will pay $40, $50 for that. Of course, books are the best books are those with the original jackets and original first edition. So, books are very collectible. Of course, people are reading books again, and it's the summer season, and we know when the summer season comes around, book time is here. Remember I mentioned earlier about fishing lures and fishing collectibles? Well, here we are. We're in the bowels of it right now. We've got fishing collectibles. These are old creels. And of course, these are all things we'll hit on at another time in our segments. But it's just interesting that people want these things nowadays as opposed to 5, 7 years ago. Now they're highly collectible. And the more unique the item, of course, the more value it's going to have. So most of the items that you see in this place are going to be in very good condition. And when you have the best of the best, in the best condition, you can ask just about any price. But of course, you have to be careful. Again, it gets back to what you're willing to sell it for and what someone is willing to buy it for. So come in and enjoy these places, and you can find some great treasures here. If not just for the resources, come in to buy something to put on that shelf of yours at home.
Or J.R. Jensen and bring in about 25 men with...
It helps build the community relationships between the industry here as well as the local municipality so that they can know who's who and how that worked in the event of a real emergency.
At that point.
You have dental and those types of things, and every day is a challenge now. You worry, what's going to happen.
When the doors to Reach All Manufacturing closed for over 100 employees, it was a painful example of another Northland company which saw its finances buckle in the midst of fierce competition. Employees thought people who worked hard at Reach All would be rewarded. They were wrong.
I think decisions were made at the top, and the employees didn't have enough input into this decision-making.
An emotional battle and financial mess was brewing between employees and management. As they stood in line waiting for their last check, industrialist Ron Lewis was trying to finalize a deal that would save Reach All and over 100 jobs that went with it.
It was hard on everybody. They wouldn't let us know what was going to happen. Ron Lewis was very quiet in what he did. So he talked to us guys in the shops, but he never let on what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, or how it was going to happen.
But the day came, fast and hard. On June 14th, over 100 Reach-All employees walked out the door facing an uncertain future. The first step for many of them was to completely start over. Don Morozic spent 8 hours a day welding for Reach-All. He was there 17 years to the date. Now he spends 8 hours a day eyeing resumes and scanning job postings with a fine-tooth comb. It's a tough routine to get into after thinking you were financially set for life.
And my wife and children have supported me, but it's scary. You wake up every day and you think, geez, you know, I still have to pay for my home.
There are others like Don Morozic, waiting, re-educating themselves, and rebuilding their lives. Experts say future generations will have 8 jobs in a lifetime.
I hope it isn't a trend that continues. We've worked with, in the last probably 3 to 4 years, 20 different projects similar to Reach-All.
While people like Don Morozic are looking for work, experts say the best way to find a new job is to stay positive. As tough as that sounds, the job service says it's one of the most important assets to an employer today. Don agrees. He says remembering what Reach-All has done for him has been the best way to get through another day of job searching.
Reach-All has done a lot for our family, and I can't look back and say, you know, geez, you know, and be bitter about it, you know, because, you know, the beautiful home we live in and you know, what we've gotten from Reach-All, I'm happy with it.
In Cloquet, Molly McMillan, Channel 6 News.
Ways that we can better serve the community, what are ways in which we can better work together to provide us with information, to provide us with, but without financial aid and a new library, we are going to be hampered as we move into the next century. We need to quickly understand that the preservation of knowledge is a rapidly changing function of the university.
I seen him there.
Some people don't believe Ed Kyle when he tells how a big black bear tore through a screen, lifted a window, and crawled into his living room. But he's got the chocolate paw print to prove it.
Muddy chocolate syrup tracks all over the place, on the stove, the counters, the floor, the refrigerator, everything had chocolate syrup on it.
Ed, his wife Lana, and their 3 kids were all sleeping Sunday night when the bear decided to move in. The bear rummaged over the pantry and knocked over the refrigerator.
The table was shoved over there and the refrigerator was laying on the floor here. The freezer door was open. The pantry was all tore down and laying on the floor.
The bear ran off but came back 3 times the next day, once to eat the garbage and once to try to get back into the house. The 3rd time, Ed shot at him.
And then my wife said, there he is, he's right there. He was right where that cement was, and he was coming right at us. And that's where I shot him at.
The wounded bear ran off into the nearby pasture.
Right here's where he laid down. The blood in the grass. And then we followed his trail, right? You can kind of see where it goes. Right back through the grass. He went right back up to the driveway up there. And then he went down my driveway and across the road into the woods.
Following a trail of blood, conservation officers searched the woods for the wounded bear but couldn't find him. Conservation officer Mike Russa says this is the first time he's heard of a bear going into a house.
Bears generally don't get into homes like that. And that bear was just a little more aggressive there, getting in like that. Normally a bear, they'll come into a yard, they're coming for food, that's the only reason a bear does anything.
Officer Arusa says he doesn't think the bear will come back to the Kyle home, but Ann and Lana aren't so sure.
I have no idea what's going to happen. I'll keep a gun loaded close.
In Black Duck, Derek Hines, Channel 6 News. In Black Duck, Minnesota, Derek Hines for NBC News.
Geared toward air-to-air missions.
Is that really an issue at this point with these cutbacks or not?
If we change mission, we will lose our readiness in the air defense mission and we'll become in a conversion status for approximately a year. At the end of that year, we'll come back up to combat readiness again.
Some of the political addresses that were given at Ross Perot's United We Stand America. Senator Kruger, I think, got up and talked about being able to
and smile, that boyish smile. Because God knows no one's perfect. And God knows.
A lot of lakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up on one of the little lakes down there.
Lakes?
And I don't really know enough.
We've had a chance to do some good promotions this year. Our inquiries are up, overall visits are up, so the good weather certainly doesn't hurt tourism.
For me, and Ariel's brother Justin, he says something about Rachel having a heart.
10-year-old Rachel Serzing is being honored by the City of Duluth and the Red Cross for that very big heart.
We have a special little rabbit that's our Red Cross rabbit, and we hope that you keep this in memory of that day. Thank you very much.
It was just about a week ago when Rachel saved the life of 3-year-old Ariel Gist, who nearly drowned at Chubb Lake.
I saw Ariel trying to get up from the water, and then the last second I was in the water trying to pick her up. A big bubble of water went in her mouth, and then her eyes closed and she floated to the bottom.
It was on this dock that Rachel and a friend were playing that August afternoon. As they looked out into the water, they noticed 3-year-old Ariel clinging for life. Without hesitation, Rachel jumped into the water to save the drowning little girl. Now, Rachel has no formal life-saving training, but the Red Cross says it's important for kids like Rachel to know the right thing to do.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
That's why they have classes like this one for kids of all ages. Instructors say if children don't learn the safety lessons in the classroom, they at least hope that kids can react as courageously as Rachel. Rachel says she's happy Ariel's alive and proud to be honored for the rescue. For this 10-year-old girl, it's the outpouring of appreciation she'll remember forever.
Big hug and a kiss. Yeah. And a lot of thank yous.
In Duluth, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the political process. I think the problem is when you have candidates that are beholding to special interest groups, and I'm beholding to no special interest groups. Senator Solon is here tonight because I'm a Duluth City Councilor, and he's a state senator, and we're good friends, and we work together.
Thanks, Molly. I'm joined today by Barb Abrahamson of the City of Superior Animal Shelter. And Barb, I know that you've got a whole house full of animals back there. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the dogs that you have?
Okay, yeah, we're completely filled right now, and a lot of the dogs have been surrendered by their owners, so we do know history. Some of them are strays. Right now we have a Rottweiler mix that's real friendly, likes kids, Dalmatian mix that's also very friendly and seems to like kids a lot. There are several small dogs. I know a lot of people are interested in adopting small dogs, and lots of cats.
Lots of cats. Now, do you have kittens, adult cats, the whole 9 yards?
Everything. Every color, every size, long hair, short hair. All of them are litter box trained and ready to go.
All right, let me ask you about this. The City of Superior Animal Shelter is a little different than some that people hear about. Tell me about the differences.
Well, the City of Superior Animal Shelter is a no-kill shelter. We don't put the animals to sleep unless they're severely injured or are very ill. Most of the dogs that come in are perfectly healthy. A lot of people have a misconception that the animals that are at the shelter are flea-ridden, they have diseases, they're ill, but most of them are healthy, and people bring their dogs here for a variety of reasons. Maybe they're moving or situations like that. So it's not always a dog that no one wants because it doesn't behave or what have you.
Right, it's just changing circumstances.
Right.
Now, if people want to come down here and adopt, what do they have to do?
They need to fill out a form that they don't live in an apartment or somewhere they're not going to be able to keep the dog for an indefinite period of time. Also, it's a $10 adoption fee, and that goes back towards the shelter for food and other things that the dogs need here.
Now, speaking of the shelter and food, how are you funded? Is this entirely supported by donations?
We do get an allotment from the city, but most of the time we scrounge for donations and people to bring food in. The food shelter is donated dog food. Otherwise, it's really tight right now.
It's difficult. So if somebody is a pet lover at home, they already have enough pets and they can bring down donations and those would be appreciated?
Exactly. It doesn't always have to be money. It could be foster caring for the animals until they find a permanent home, leashes, collars, food. Anything that you can do is greatly appreciated.
Okay, just as a last question, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the varieties of dogs. Now, in there I saw at least a part Dalmatian. Are most of these dogs perfect for families, or would it come down to somebody have to shop around a little bit to find just the right dog for them?
If someone comes in and they're too anxious to just take home the first dog that they see, that's kind of a warning signal. We like them to go home and think about it and what type of dog would be best suited for them in terms of compatibility, size. The more you think about it and the more conscientious you are of your choice, I think the better the relationship is and the more happy you'll be with your pet when you do get it home.
Okay, Barb, what's the number down here? How do people get a hold of you?
It's 394-0280, and we're open from 7 to 3 Monday through Friday and 8 to 12 on Saturday.
All right.
And you can call to make arrangements, and we can make a special trip down too if you're looking for a dog.
All right, that's excellent. Thanks very much, Barbara Abrahamson. City of Superior Animal Shelter, we'll send it back to you, Molly.
This is probably one of the hottest collectibles right now as far as dinnerware is concerned. The colors are just impeccable, and the condition and quality are very good too. Looking at an ivory fruit bowl, early colors, $25. Of course, a little more difficult to find is the yellow candlestick or yellow vase. We're looking at $65. But again, condition is very important. These things have to be mint condition. Okay. Oh, wait a second here. We have a spongeware. This is a spongeware crock. It's a newer one, but it's marked $55. Okay, good. Nice little Shawnee teapot, $138. Here in Roseville is very collectible and it continues to escalate in value. We have a nice tall piece here. We're looking at the Bushberry Brown vase, about $195. So the prices range anywhere here from $50 all the way up to $195, $200. We have Royal Beirut, and here we're looking at, what would you call this, poppy pattern? We've got a poppy pattern, and there is a mark on here, and it does say Royal Beirut. And this is this a set we're looking at for $175 or just an individual piece? An individual piece, Royal Beirut, poppy pattern, $175. These are some excellent examples of some of the 20s and the pre-20s of artwork done with glass. These are what they're called perfume bottles, and some are hand-painted, hand-cut, many different variations of glass, and they can be very pricey. They can range anywhere from $25 for the small one here to $75 for the yellow glass, cut to clear, and we also have this is a hand-cut black glass or amethyst glass at $65. Pretty glassware abounds everywhere, and of course all the different and varying colors are very attractive, especially in a booth like this. These are the old salt and pepper shakers, the old shakers I should say, all varying kinds, and they're quite expensive, some of these, and they can range anywhere from a couple dollars all the way up to $30 or $40. Of course, the last time that salt and pepper shakers went absolutely crazy was at Andy Warhol's auction, and some of those things went for $2,000, $3,000, where today you can buy the same thing for $10, $15. It's amazing what a name will do for you.
For the 1995 season here at the pool. Like everyone to slide back off the deck about 2 to 3 feet.
Francis Locken and Greg Nelson are companion pieces.
Thomas Locken and Greg Nelson.
Greg Nelson.
No, they're not companion pieces.
They're not. Technicality, also party to a crime, also felony under circumstances. Which you 26? Yeah. What time have you got?
Your Honor, with regard to the bail issue,
wait a minute.
We're looking at the George Kessler wannabe car. This car would like to have George in it. It's just waiting for him. 1974 Corvette 350.
Spider 2000, ladies and gentlemen, rear turbo.
Spider 2000 rare turbo engine.
Where's the quarter of
Well, it's not antique, probably not collectible, but it's an extremely good value at this auction. Got a mobile home here, very good condition. 1970 Silver Shadow Rolls Royce, oil light for $6,300. Boy, what a deal. What a deal. It even has the original woodwork that's in there. Did they give you the keys with it when you bought it?
Give me the keys when they finish paying for it.
Boy, leather interior and all. Leather interior. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the few cars that you have to be a licensed technician to handle. This is not something you can get in under on a Saturday and start working on it. Of course, it's a little out of my price range, but is this your dad? How you doing? I'm Lou Campbell. I just made a deal. I'm going to race this guy in a foot race across the hall. If I beat him, I get the car. What a great deal. This guy walking away with the steal of the afternoon. Rolls Royce, $6,300. Okay, I think we found the perfect car for George.
Bruce Hagen. Do you really think, how about this? You would be a little bit embarrassed about not seeing or not moving to the direction of the
While tempted to respond in an attack fashion myself, I have decided to take the high road and continue with our positive campaign. More is at stake here than pride. What's at stake here is the future of the city of Duluth and all of its citizens.
Bruce Hagen is a voice from the past. Bruce Hagen is someone who left me to inherit a bill for $10 million via a lawsuit filed by the Burlington Northern. When that
busiest Labor Day weekend for motorists in over a decade.
We think that people have a little more spendable income. We mentioned gas prices, of course, that's very definitely a factor, but it's just the last fun weekend of a long, hot summer, and it's going to be a very, very busy one.
So busy, in fact, AAA says over 25,000 people will hit the road in Minnesota alone. Lightly says gas prices have dipped by as much as 6 cents per gallon, making car travel more economical. With all the extra cars on the road, the State Patrol has a big job ahead of them.
Well, we've got some extra people out on, as I said, on the safe and sober. We'll just be trying to help people as much as we can, and also we want people to know that we'll have troopers out doing traffic enforcement, and that's, I think they expect that, and we hope that that helps keep the accident rate down.
Lieutenant Stout says, as a motorist, you too can help keep that accident rate down.
Seat belts, they're vital to safety, to your safety. If you're going to do some drinking, you find a designated responsible driver. The speeds are a real concern that we have. It's getting out of control. I think you know that from driving the roads yourself. I'm feeling that, and I do this work for a living. We ask people to hold the speeds down. We ask you to be courteous and respectful to one another, and if you do those things, you probably are going to do real well this weekend.
But this isn't just a big weekend around the state. This is a big weekend right here in Duluth.
Labor Day is definitely one of the biggest visiting weekends that we have in the city. Grandma's Marathon and the Bayfront Blues Fest are by far the largest weekends, and they fill the entire town, but Labor Day would definitely be a close third.
Schmidt says over 80% of the visitors to Duluth for weekend getaways hail from the Twin Cities. Of that, more than a third visit Duluth more than 10 times per year. In Duluth, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
The Duluth Police and Fire Departments are investigating an arson fire to a garage located near the intersection of Piedmont Avenue and 7th Street in the West End. The fire was started early Tuesday morning, August 29th. The arsonist approached the garage through the alley and started the fire on the outside. The fire burned through the wall and destroyed the structure, as well as tools and equipment inside. The fire also damaged a truck parked nearby. The financial loss has not been determined, but it will probably be over $10,000. It was fortunate no one was injured. Crime Stoppers will pay a reward up to $1,000 to find out who started this fire. We will also pay rewards for most criminal information and never reveal who called us. Your calls help catch crooks and stop crime. Call 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH.
Or three, but the eggs, they sit there, so it's easier to find them. You say back ear, that, and say your child's been exposed. But really, to control this, we're relying on parents to periodically check their children, see if they have lice, and getting them treated as soon as possible to prevent spread to the family members or to other children.
Found out that one individual wearing a ski mask, dressed in black, brandishing a revolver, entered the store, demanded money, and took an undetermined amount of cash out of the till right now and left the store. That was immediately prior to her calling the 911 dispatch center.
Did he make her lay down on the floor or anything? How did he do it?
Well, when he came in, he did make her lay down on the floor, rummage the cash register, and then went out the door.
Did she get a look at his height or anything? Do you have any kind of physical characteristics?
Right now, we're trying to work on a physical description of this fellow. He's possibly about 5 feet 7 inches average.